Hey, welcome to this episode of Ruff Talk VR. Today we're joined again with Aaron and Anthony, the developers of one of our favorite games that actually went from App Lab to the official store. We're talking about Arcaxer, and they have a sequel in the works. So, I mean, come on, we got to get them back on and
got to get the tea.
Yeah, because if anybody hasn't played the first, now's the time to go and jump into it and catch up. And
especially if you're a Quest 3 owner, because it hit me. It's like the game is pretty visually stunning. So it's like I can only imagine with the new pancake lenses and even without enhancements to the current game, I would just think the overall experience is going to be a lot nicer.
Yeah, that's definitely on my list of Quest 3 games to jump back into. But before we get carried away, Anthony and Aaron, do you guys want to introduce yourself a little bit more and also tell our listeners what exactly Arcaxer is?
Yeah, sure thing. So I'm Anthony with Overrun Games. I do the programming and game design for Arcaxer.
I'm Aaron. I do most of the 3D art, concept art, animation, tech stuff like that. Anthony also does the music, which is important to mention.
Oh, yeah.
So I think the first two times, definitely the first time, and I believe still the second time we talked with you too, it was still a two-person team, two-person endeavor leading Arcaxer. Is that still the case today?
It's mostly just us two, same as the first game. However, also like the first game, we often get other people helping out with various things like additional music. Sometimes we have our friend Cody jump in and do some QA testing and additional code stuff.
Luckily, we've been able to bring Cody in for a little more work this time. Things are just lined up a little bit better. It's been nice to work with him here and there.
That's awesome. Always humble
and gangster to do it with like such a small team. That's freaking awesome.
Yeah, very humble and giving credit, where credit's due. But I'm sure if we had a percentage breakdown of what was done by each, it would be overwhelmingly leaning towards you two. And Arcaxer is a very well polished game. It's
not tiny either.
No, if you played this game feels like a game made by a big studio. It's got open world elements. It combines top down gaming with first person VR. Is a long story that even grew longer from the first time that we had reviewed it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the game's incredible. And at this point with Arcaxer 2 in the works, are you completely done with Arcaxer 1, or do you still go in and do some quality of life improvements and that type of stuff?
We still do a little bit of tweaks here and there. We are also experimenting with a possible update for the Quest 3, little graphics improvement for Quest 3 owners, possibly coming soon. Need to do a little more testing on that first, but we're pretty excited about that.
Yeah, we're hopeful we can get all or most of the PC VR upgrades onto the Quest 3. I really think it can handle it based on the footage they showed off at Connect and based on what Anthony's been telling me about the Quest 3.
So far Anthony has a Quest 3 and Aaron not yet, correct?
I'm waiting, yeah.
Yeah, so once both these developers have Quest 3s...
Well, and this is awesome because these are the first developers we're speaking to since the release of it just came out freaking the other day. So I've been waiting to see like what the developers are going to do with this little extra power. And it seems like you both will be able to do something. Well, so that already excites me.
Just for transparency, today's Wednesday. The Quest 3 came out yesterday.
Yeah, I was being a little vague.
So you have had it for a day, and already as a developer, your brain's going, all right, I think we can ramp up. It's not even for the next project. Let's go back and let's improve even the first one. It's like your creative brain starts going crazy with it. And what's been your thoughts on the Quest 3 as you've used it so far?
So far, I am going to say I think it's my favorite headset. So like that I have a lot of headsets, if you can see everything on my shelf back here. But it's honestly blown me away. I'm replacing my Quest Pro as my daily development headset with the Quest 3, which I didn't think I was going to do. But honestly, the mixed reality specifically ended up being a bigger deal than I expected. I don't know. I've been playing old games like 11 Table Tennis with the mixed reality on and Thrill of the Fight. And just like, I don't know, something about just like punching a dude in my own living room and like not being afraid of like tripping over the dog. It kind of adds a whole lot.
That was the first ever game I bought in VR, Thrill of the Fight. It is still one of my favorites, and they just rolled out that mixed reality mode, I think the night before the Quest 3 came out, or maybe the day of.
I was like kind of on the, I'm not a naysayer of mixed reality, but like, I don't necessarily see the benefit, just being ridiculous, I guess. But after getting to try some shit last night, I was like, oh no, I want more mixed reality in my life. I totally see when shit's coming out of your ceiling and your walls, and it's like, this is your world, and it's being,
I can't wait.
Or even Demio with putting paintings on the wall and dragons hanging from your ceiling. I'm like, this has some real.
We instantly went looking for that Beat Saber mixed reality mode that I've seen teased, but it doesn't look like it's live yet. But even Beat Saber mixed reality,
I'm excited.
So for you two as developers, is your brain going crazy for ways that you can implement mixed reality in Arcaxer too, or is it like, now we got to think about it?
The day after the MetaConnect speech, where they kind of showed all the features of the new Quest 3, we sat down with one of our friends, Waylon from Click Games, and we just started talking about possible ways to use that MR pass-through.
Yeah, Click Games is a great little publisher. They're actually the publisher of Dragon Fist VR Kung Fu. We just had Ben Olding on as well.
Oh, nice. I think Ben's the other half of the leadership,
Yeah, Ben.
Super nice people.
Ben, Dragon Fist VR, that's another good little indie game, and it's come a long way. And I don't know, I'm so excited for mixed reality in all these games that already exist.
Well, and it's weird because I'm just going to use your game, Arcaxer. It's like, let's say you threw some mixed reality sections in there. It's like, I wouldn't even know where to begin and what to do. So
I could totally picture. Imagine fighting those enemies.
I wouldn't mind being on the treadmill in my own space.
But imagine fighting those enemies like a dungeon almost.
In your own. I don't know, man. I'm excited to see the excitement from actual developers the day after release, to be like, just, can't wait to get our hands in this.
So I don't think we went too in depth with it. So just in case any of our listeners haven't played Arcaxer yet or missed a couple interviews. Yeah, I know. It's such a good game. Do you want to tell our listeners a little bit more what exactly Arcaxer is?
Yeah, of course. So Arcaxer is a turn-based RPG, but with very action-focused combat. So just because it's turn-based, don't think that you'll just be sitting in place, because how the combat works is on your turn, you're actually aiming your spells and doing gestures to do your attacks. And on the enemy turn, the game kind of turns into a bullet hell. And you'll actually be moving your head around to try to dodge attacks, and it can get really kind of cardio intensive as you get farther along in the game.
It's a lot more intense on the enemy turn. Like, I will draw out my last spell just to kind of get a breather when it's on my turn, and then the enemy turn starts and you're moving.
In addition to the combat system, we also have a kind of third-person / first-person perspective mix. So the overworld's in third person, where you get this kind of tabletop-down God view overworld, where everything's kind of diorama scale. And then when you go into battles, it switches to first person.
Yeah, I'll never forget the first time we played it, and it's all casual. We're doing our top-down mode, and then when we go to do the combat, because we always play party chat even when we're doing single-player games, we're like, what the hell, man? I was not expecting a workout like this. So yeah, don't think you'll be playing stationary the whole time at all.
And it's still, to date, the only game that lets you gain some points by exercising.
Oh yeah, just completely game the system.
That still to this day is one of the coolest elements I've seen for.
I think we've talked about it both times that we've had you on pretty in depth, but yeah, we're big fans of the gamifying exercise aspect of the treadmill in Arcaxer 1, where since it's an RPG and you have stats, you have a health stat and they have a treadmill that you can go and
did you go
use.
Ham?
Yeah.
I remember originally, I think I spent over 30 minutes in one time, just because I'm like, that's all I'm doing. I'm not doing nothing else. I'm just fucking collecting.
Yeah, so you use a treadmill, you gain health for your character.
Genius.
It's a great concept, and there seems to be no limit on it. So for Arcaxer 2,
it keeps going.
What's the biggest number that anybody's posted in your Discord or something like that? Have you gotten some outrageous health amounts?
I think that guy's gotten a Stack Overflow, hasn't he?
We have a guy in our Discord. He's been a long time member. He's actually done some of the music for the game. He's a very talented musician. and he's done some metal covers of our battle themes that you can actually play by unlocking the guitar weapon. But I don't know his numbers exactly, but he has spent actual hours on the treadmill. Like during COVID, his workout was to go into the game and just do the treadmill mini game for hours. And I think his health pool was like just amazingly, like he could just sit there and take hits all day.
It was insane. He was up to like level 300 and something in the Sim, which like, so the Sim is a sub game, it's post game content, and like the numbers get nuts. Basically, if you don't dodge everything picture perfect for hours, you just die. But he had just cranked his health stats so much that he could tank hits like no one.
So
I can respect that though. I honestly can, because if I had the time, I probably would have done the same friggin' thing.
Yeah, I remember if you had free time while we were preparing to review it, you would just go in.
Because once the brain went, well, wait a minute, man. You know, I invest a little physical energy, but I get an advantage, like a real advantage.
It's win-win for everyone.
I just stand in front of shit, not worry about it for a little while. Yeah,
I get hit a lot too. So yeah, the treadmill's a big favorite of mine.
Yeah, it's essential if you ask me. So Arcaxer is a game that was in development. You know, you mentioned even during COVID. So it's been some years. You have Arcaxer 2 coming. You know, you've gotten a lot of experience, a lot of feedback for Arcaxer 2. Are you planning on keeping the same core gameplay elements of the top-down method with the first person, or are you looking to go a different route? Myself personally, I'm a big fan of the gameplay mechanics in Arcaxer 1, so I'm not asking, hoping it's the opposite direction or anything like that. But yeah, are you looking to keep that core integrity of the game, or are you going a different route?
So most of the core gameplay elements are still there. We still have the third-person overworld that you can switch into first person if you like. We have the same first-person, turn-based, action-oriented gameplay. The biggest change this time around is that you're going to have an actual full party in combat. So we've shown a couple previews on our TikToks of how this new combat system works, but there's a little more strategy involved this time. In the first game, the combat was. It wasn't super strategic, you know. It was basically if you dodge, you're probably good, and if you land your attacks, you're probably good. But this time around, you're going to have to think a little bit more as far as hitting enemy weaknesses with like elemental attacks, thinking about where your party members are, which party members are being attacked, and we have this new system where on the enemy turn, you can actually assume control of any party member just by looking at them and pointing at them, basically using the trigger, and you'll switch to their perspective. So if you see an enemy attack coming at a party member, you might want to switch to their perspective so that you can dodge out of the way, you know, with your own head, because your party members aren't going to move if you just leave them there. So there's a little bit more strategy there as far as being aware on the battlefield.
That's awesome.
I already know where you're going with this. So you're making it ridiculously hard, is what you're saying.
So
because I can already pick.
Oh no, that just sounds like a lot of strategy.
Well, dude, if you got multiple people and you're responsible for their movement, and you know how that shit's going down, you're gonna have to be like not only moving what's in front of you, but quickly changing to the next person. And so I already know what's happening. This is
you're gonna have to make some compromises. Yeah.
Luckily, we will have lots of passives and items in the game to help ease your journey along. I kind of want to balance the game around two different play styles. One being super active, always dodge every attack, and two being kind of almost a more laid back, kind of seated style gameplay where I want to have a build style where you actually try to assume control of party members that aren't being attacked, and allow that party member to be hit by giving them like advantages or like defenses while you're not controlling them, so that if maybe you do want a more laid back gaming session, you could maybe play this way where instead of moving around,
like auto deflect and auto dodge and stuff like that. Yeah.
Right, and you're trying to. It'll be more strategic rather than exhausting, I guess.
Physically intense, yeah.
That's kind of cool. You have like a strategy mode, and then you have an exercise mode.
Besides having multiple games within the game, you're going to have almost 2 extra games in one.
Yeah, 2 completely different play styles. That's huge. And I think last time we had you on, if I'm not going crazy, I think you might have even teased the potential of multiplayer in the game. Am I crazy about that, or is that correct?
That's correct. We're still working on multiplayer. That's definitely going to be one of the big features, and part of the reason why we designed this game around having a full party, so that when you're playing multiplayer, instead of having these, your story AI party members, you'll have your friends in those party slots instead.
That's huge. That's such a game changer. And so to confirm, this is like cooperative multiplayer, no PvP, correct? We're not
no PvP planned.
Battling.
Yeah, no PvP planned at this moment. Maybe in the future, but at this time, we just want to get that co-op dungeon crawling nailed down.
Yeah, it's not that I have anything against PvP, but when I think of this game, it's like I want to play it through the story.
If I have a choice between PvP or you and I playing together, I'm gonna play with you, not against you.
100%.
Especially since the story for the first game was literally the power of friendship.
Great. So I was speaking of story. Is this going to be a continuation of lore, or is this are we expecting some sort of major shift in?
Kind of. It's definitely connected.
Yeah, same universe. There's going to be some returning characters, but the main character is new, so you're not playing as the same entity that you're playing as in the first game. But like I said, same universe, so there's going to be references to things in the first game, but not in a way where you're expected to play the first game to understand what's going on.
It's going to be like Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy IX. Like, you're playing both.
You can hop in the series whenever.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, but I actually like when games are like that. So if someone accidentally, let's say, was exposed to one before the other, it doesn't ruin the other, and you can still get the other even if it was the first and you played the second first, and it's not going to ruin.
Like standalone stories in the same universe. It's a cool concept. I like that, especially for this style of classic RPG.
I'm just can't wait to see it on a Quest 3 because we're talking maybe shadow abilities now But again, this game was even on the Quest 2. I mean, it's visually really good.
Absolutely.
It's not. I'm just trying to think of all the different scenes and areas.
And the combat going on. You mentioned it gets bullet hell. That's a good way to describe it when there's like all the bubbles coming at you and just a whole bunch of different enemies, especially later in the game.
Is the treadmill going to be in the second one?
Yes. The treadmill is returning along with...
We've got plans for an expanded gym.
Yes. One big feature that we're working on for this game is you kind of have a home base in the form of a bus that you use to travel between the game's different worlds, and the bus will be upgradable with different exercise equipment. So in a way, it's also kind of a portable gym. So throughout the game, you'll be able to buy things like the treadmill again, and maybe like a squat rack. All kinds of new mini games for you to burn calories on and gain stats with.
So if we're playing cooperatively, can we go in the gym and work out together?
That is the plan, yes.
Yeah.
We're never going to play the freaking game. We're just going to be trying
to max out our stats.
Stat horse.
Yeah.
We want the bus area to be something you can really customize and make your own. I don't know if you guys played Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire, but they had this feature where you could decorate your own little secret hideout with gear that you bought from the stores. And whenever you connected with your friends, it added your hideout into their world. So I was always trying to customize mine.
It's funny you mentioned that. I actually believe that Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald, that's the last generation of Pokemon I was like getting every one of. And I think Emerald was peak for my entire Pokemon playing. So yes, I'm very familiar with those hideout systems. It just adds a lot of replayability.
Yeah.
I want you to be able to show off to your friends.
Yeah, he got to watch me and my sister get every single Pokemon generation as a child. We were definitely big Pokemon kids. But I think every kid from that like generation was. Pokemon was huge.
It still is.
Yeah, actually, I shouldn't use past tense.
And it's not mainly kids now. It's all
it's only
kids that grew up.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point.
I've seen old dudes doing the Pokemon apps.
And Arcaxer 1, it really has a lot of classic throwbacks to old school, JRPGs. You select your classes, you have the turn-based combat. Is the concept to keep the class system still where, you select a fighter or a rogue or whatever? Or are you going more of a free-for-all selection with that?
We're actually expanding the class system a little bit. So I don't know if we've even talked about this at all. So this might be a little bit of new news for the game, but it'll be kind of the same at the beginning where you choose one of 3 classes. The starting classes will be fighter, mage, and cleric this time, which is going to be a more support-oriented class that kind of goes well with our party system. But as you progress through the game, you'll actually unlock new classes that you'll be able to swap in and out of as you play. So maybe if later on you decide, it might be better if I'm a mage in this situation, you'll be able to unlock the mage, switch to that class, and it'll change out all your class abilities.
Wow.
This game so far is ticking all the boxes. If I were like a human algorithm, like exercise.
Yep. Co-op,
co-op.
Social VR has gotten so big.
Visually done well.
Is there another... so there's Dungeons of Eternity, but I wouldn't call that an RPG like this. That's more of like a dungeon
beautification.
There's not really many co-op RPGs in VR, so this is, Arcaxer was already doing something unique, and this just takes that.
A lot of levels too.
Yeah, and if
you want to talk about, get to the nitty gritty, it's not like linear at all.
Yeah, and it's not a quick game. I think that's
even if you try to run through it, you're not going to run through it.
Yeah, you really need to die a couple times in it. Get your stats up. You really need to grind a bit in it. It's got a good playthrough, and I imagine 2 is going to be the same. And is the story for 2 already completely done, or are you still kind of figuring out what's going to happen in the story of Arcaxer 2?
So the broad
planning it better.
Yeah, the story is definitely planned out better this time than. I really like what we did with the story in the first game, but a lot of that we kind of just wrote as we were going along. This game is much more master planned as far as we know what the whole story is from the beginning this time. The only details we're kind of hatching out are the kind of the micro stories in each world as you play through the game. We have the stories mostly planned out for the first couple worlds, but the stuff towards the end of the game we're still writing.
There's definitely still room for spontaneity because, a lot of our favorite bosses and enemies and weapon types all came from stupid puns that we made for no reason, and they just stuck and we liked them. So I'm sure we're still going to come up with some really dumb ideas for the first couple levels, but yeah.
So if I understand then, so for the first one, there really wasn't a full beginning to end storyboard per se.
No. You just wrote on that as it went.
As it progressed, and
we kind of had the game. We had the major theme. The theme of the game was people are more good than evil, and we kind of just wrote each section of this, because each block of the stack kind of has its own story with its own kind of character that it focuses on. And as we got to that block, we kind of just said, okay, so this is how this character's story is going to fit into the game's theme. And then we kind of had we knew what we wanted the final boss and the conflict resolution to be, but other than that, we were mostly just.
Well, we figured that out about halfway through. We didn't have the Dark Arcaxer idea until we went to Reno that one time.
That's true. Yeah,
that was a very big breakthrough weekend for us. We drove up to South Lake Tahoe to visit some friends, and it's an 8-hour drive from where we live. So that was 16 hours of nothing to talk about and nothing to do. So we just kind of had some really cool ideas while we drove. It was a good time.
That stuff is essential.
It's weird to hear because the stories, you wouldn't play the game and pay attention to all the lore and think for a second that it might have
been on the fly.
Been on the fly.
Yeah. I mean, he always had an idea in his mind of the overall shape of things, but we figured out the details together, or mostly him, but the details came out as we went. And yeah, honestly, Arcaxer started off as a tech demo that we weren't really sure what it was going to be, and we were both bored and tired and burnt out and looking for work. And it just kind of grew from there. And yeah, I'm really proud with everything we made it into.
That's awesome.
Well, it's come a long way too, from friggin' App Lab to the official store.
Yeah.
So I mean that in itself speaks volumes to not only the game itself, but to the both of you, because at the end of the day, even if you're bringing in the occasional third or fourth person to help, or it's a 2-person team that was able to do it. It's kind of inspirational to other devs that might think they can't do it. But of course, I would say you need to have a very, very good product to put forth.
And this also speaks volumes to the lessons learned and the improvements taken from one. It's like you look at one that was written as you go, and now this one you have the majority of the story. You're just mostly working on like the side stuff, the more final details of each world.
It's exciting.
And having that experience and that structure of the story, has that made the development process easier, or did you kind of like the more chaotic on go as you on the fly?
I would say the structure helps, I guess, keep us on track as far I don't know how to explain it. It's like we just know we have a much better idea of where we're going this time, but there's still that chaotic element, because we're two guys. So if
when a random character is going to show up,
if we have a dumb idea, there's no bureaucracy as far as we got to make sure this is fine with marketing and all this. If we have a dumb idea, we just put it in the game. So
I made a red panda thief, and then Anthony said, "What if he was fatter?" And so we made him a chubbier red raccoon until he's a Jack Black looking guy, and now he's Jack Black.
I think that's exactly what I said. I said I wanted him way more Jack Black, and you said, "All right, done."
Say less. But here's the thing, if you call them, dumb ideas or whatever, but if those things never got done, Arcaxer, if those things weren't able to be put in the game, Arcaxer 1 probably wouldn't have been the game that it is and so special and so loved. So
dumb
I think
ideas are my favorite ideas when it comes to movies, TV shows, video games. Give me your dumb ideas, run with them.
If I encounter a giant, fat, red raccoon, I'm peeing myself. It's great. It keeps you in the game. It keeps you immersed. I don't know. I love that type of stuff. So I'm glad to see that you guys are doing more of that. And then
there's one specific scene in Community where Jack Black jumps in the air, kicks someone in the face, and falls over, and that's the character's whole arc. It's going to be great.
So is that a main boss, or is that just something on the side that you're having fun with?
Yeah, that's a party member.
A lot of the characters, I make them, and then me and Anthony have a conversation about what they should be.
And how big is the party plan to be for this?
Right now, just 3. Don't want to make it too crazy. I want to make it so it's really obvious in battle, which character you're switching to, and I feel like anything more than 3 is going to be a little too crazy as far as stuff's going on. I got to switch to this guy, and I don't want to break people's brains too much. I felt like that was a good number.
That seems really, because that's left and right, and you don't
left and right, yeah,
over or around. Because if you're trying to protect your healer and you accidentally jump to your tank and then you watch your healer crumble to dust, that's gonna feel bad.
You got a little chipmunk by your feet. You got to go protect.
I'm not upset with her. I'm not even upset with 2. Knowing what the premise of survival is gonna be.
So if we're doing co-op, you can tell how hyped I am for the multiplayer element. That's got a lot of questions about that. If we're doing co-op for the second player, do they just pick one of the party members to take control of, or do they select their own class and all of that process too?
The idea right now is that you would take the main character from your game file. So it would be, the main character will be the only character in the game that can swap classes throughout the game. So you'll be able to choose from whatever classes you have unlocked. And that's the character that you'll play as in co-op.
Oh, that is so cool. So you kind of not really carry over your progress in terms of the story, but you're carrying over your progress with your character into your friend's game, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
I want to do a level cap, but we haven't really talked about that yet. We'll figure it out, because like sometimes it is fun to just show up and crush your friend's enemies. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then it really opens up some fun areas for making some skins. That way players can really get some of their own custom flavor going on. I've got some fun ideas for that.
Well, and think of if somebody's in, pops in your Discord, goes, "Oh, I'm so stuck on this level, I can't get through." Somebody goes, "Hold my beer, let me get my level 99." Go in, just follow me, I'll show you what to do. It adds almost like a community help aspect to the game. Like,
thought, hey, we're going to kill God.
Just that guy that you mentioned before. He just shows up to save the day anytime somebody's stuck. Coming in with all the help.
Our Discord is really active too. There would be a lot of people more than happy to help you through any boss.
Yeah, that type of stuff just adds so much to games, replayability, and ability to just fire it back up. So that's awesome. And at this point, how long has Arcaxer 2 been in the works?
I'd say we've mostly been putting real time into it this year. I had sprinkles of work in it previously, around the time that we finished releasing Arcaxer 1. But I'd say
we'd actually started development before we got approved for the Quest store for Arcaxer. Mm-hmm. We had been like pre-production and some soft work, so it's been kind of a fuzzy timeline.
But most of the work's been put in this year.
Yeah, you've known you wanted to do a sequel for a little bit at least. Did you know you wanted to do a sequel right when you finished the story of Arcaxer 1? Was that already like, all right, we're continuing with it, or was it more of you took a couple deep breaths and went?
I always wanted to do a sequel, but a lot of it depended on whether or not we got onto the Quest store or not. Because for us, it was like, well, if this game isn't popular enough, or we think that, maybe this concept wasn't worthy enough for a sequel, then maybe it's not worth doing. But basically, as soon as we got on the Quest store, we're like, okay, I think this is a concept that's worth, iterating on. Yeah,
that was basically the conversation. We had another idea that we had started pre-production on that wasn't a sequel, and like that was, well, it didn't happen, so let's go try something else. And I had given up hope of getting onto the main store at that point. I had fully switched gears, and then we got onto the main store, and like one of the first things we said was, "So Arcaxer 2, right?"
That's awesome.
Well, it's got to feel good to go from App Lab to the official store, where all things being equal, you get a lot better exposure on that official store through the headset, through the app, than you can on App Lab. So
it's a lot more traffic. Yeah.
Yep.
So overall, what's that difference been like since you got on the official store?
Well, it's getting us part 2.
Yeah. Well, for us as consumers, I'm so glad, you guys definitely deserve it. And now we get the sequel, but did your Discord get bigger? What was the reaction to getting on the store?
Oh, we definitely gotten a lot more players since getting on the store. Just having the game be like not in the app like category and in the RPG category, and being able to do sales and stuff like that gets us a lot of players. Our Discord's growing. I'd say it's growing at a faster rate.
Our best traffic driver for Discord is still the Quest store for sure. Before, it used to be going on Reddit and telling people to join our Discord like one at a time.
Well, it's funny you say that, because I see on Reddit a lot people post like, "Hey, is there RPG games in VR?" And I actually think that might have been how I discovered Arcaxer, was seeing one of you post like, "Hey."
I probably replied on one of those like, you just described our game, go play our game.
Yeah, because it's commonly requested, and there's some genres that if you go and search by on the main store,
it's weak.
Yeah, and RPG is sadly one of them. So having Arcaxer on that, and then if it's sorted alphabetically, chances are it's going to be at the top. It starts with an A. So
triple A.
Yeah, the next Arcaxer will name it AA. But genius. That definitely has to. definitely has to help. So I don't know. You both deserved it so much. Arcaxer was.
Yeah, we were pretty stoked.
Yeah, it's one thing if you make a great new rhythm game or a great new, 5v5 shooter. I can understand if it's on App Lab, as there's a lot of those on the store, but to see a game like Arcaxer that there's nothing like that on the main store, to see an App Lab was criminal, in my opinion. So,
I think we were pretty vocal.
Yeah.
You were, yeah. It felt really nice to hear you guys saying, you considered us a main store game from the beginning, and that felt really good. Especially because, like I said, we were in the giving up phase at that point.
I would say especially at that time, and still that kind of holds true today, but games are getting better with it. A lot of the story-based games were, 3, 4, 5 hours, whereas Arcaxer, unless I sucked at the game, I was not beating that game in 5 hours. It took us several weeks.
I probably overall spent more than 5 hours on a treadmill, or just doing dumb shit that I don't need to do, hoverboard or whatever. So
yeah.
The fastest recorded finish I've seen was 11 hours. Someone posted a Steam review and it said 11 hours to beat the game, which, you know what? I appreciate being concise. Usually it's about 15 hours if you're going pretty focused. If you're like me and you're bad and you get distracted by side content, 25 hours is pretty easy.
Which is especially
it's a sick amount of time
for a VR.
Even by today, we'll say even by today's standards, you get a review saying you're getting 15, 25 hours out of a game. That's pretty beast.
Yeah, made by 2 people. That's insane. And do you have? Yeah, I'm sure it's not concrete locked in, so I'm not trying to get the official number. But do you have
a squeeze? I can feel it.
Yeah. Do you have an idea of how long you would like to see Arcaxer, take players? I'm sorry, Arcaxer 2.
I think we're going to aim for around the same game length. I think anything longer than that is going to stretch us too thin.
Yeah, especially with the quests, like 20 hours, you're talking 7 full battery charges at least.
Right. But I would expect to have more replayability with co-op being involved in everything this time. Mm-hmm. So perhaps you'll be able to get a little more hours out of this next game just on the fact that it's multiplayer.
There's definitely still going to be plenty of grinding opportunities too.
Admittingly, I was, I didn't go right.
It's 2 games for me if it's single player and co-op, because I'll do it single and then you and I'll end up doing it. So
100%, especially if we both beat the single player campaign. So we each
taking
have
all that single player knowledge and bringing it to the table for this. Yeah, absolutely. No brainer.
Leveled out guy. And
I have high expectations. That's the one thing I'll say to both of you is you did so well, in my opinion, on the first one. The sound quality's good. The game mechanics work. Visually, again, I'm going to go to the visuals. They look fucking great. That's my minimal expectation for the second one, So it's either that or higher. So I'm psyched around the board for this.
Yeah.
I don't see any corners being cut.
No,
in any area.
I'm so excited. I know that there's no release date or anything.
I'm patient.
Or anything like that. I'm actually I'm with you. I'd rather see games take their time and be complete, be bug free.
Again, especially when the first one you do is not, it's not a stripped down, like blocky clouds.
And is this your first time that you guys as developers are, working with networking and multiplayer and stuff like that inside a game?
We've done played around. We've done like side work and contract work and stuff that's been networked before. This will be our first game that's like our game that's networked.
And has that been a big increased challenge, or does having the prior experience is actually a pretty seamless experience?
It's definitely an increased challenge. It's the biggest game that we've ever had to work on networking with. And it definitely adds a ton of technical complexity to the game. So it is a challenge and will always be a challenge throughout the course of developing the game. But I think it's worth it.
Yeah, I agree. As a consumer, at least, it's easy for me to say. I'm not the one sweating and grinding away on hours on it. But you mentioned replayability. It's like, and you said too, you're gonna play through it twice at least. Once single player, once co-op,
minimally.
So it's a big challenge, but I think the payout's definitely going to be worth it.
That's
And
one of those things that surprised me too, is just how many people play VR with their friends, with their family. People make VR friends just so they have other people to play VR games with. And like, I assumed VR was going to be a solo experience, but we started development like 5 years ago, so it was a different landscape back then. We started before the Quest 1 came out. So that really opened the gates for a lot of people.
For me, it was the first time we ever did a co-op game and we saw each other's avatar right in front of each other. And it was like, oh, there's potential here. You get the wave. And it was like, I don't think I have.
I didn't go into VR thinking it was going to be, there was going to be this social side of me I enjoy.
That's not how I flat screen game by any means. I'm a isolated person when I play.
Very strange. It wouldn't have ever thought that would have been the case. I would have thought it would have felt weird or whatever, but it's my go-to.
Yeah, and even when we're doing single player games, we're still on party chat.
Yeah, we shoot the shit.
Yeah, it's
which just, again is so bizarre from a gaming standpoint. Like I can't picture being on my Xbox and like
being in party chat while you're
have
playing.
Headphones on talking to you.
Yeah,
like hey,
while you're playing Assassin's Creed. But there's something about, I think it's because VR, because you get so immersed and by yourself in that environment that
it's a true world, man. I mean, you're in it.
Having somebody else's voice there sometimes is nice.
Especially if it's a scary game.
Oh, don't even get me there. I'm such a wuss with.
So
Anthony plays Phasmophobia in headset, and I don't know how he does it.
Yeah, I can't.
Favorite Halloween game.
I can't play it flat screen in a dark room.
I'm a wuss. I get too immersed in VR. I'm like, I'm there. I'm out.
I'll get sweaty palms and shit.
Yeah.
Heart start racing a little. Like, and you'll even say, like, this is dumb. This is a fucking game. It's like, it's not even real, but yet you're scared to open the door.
Mm-hmm.
You know something's going to be.
Yeah, I'm not about that life.
So, with the success of Arcaxer 1, Arcaxer 2 is in the works. We'll assume there's obviously going to be many more projects coming from the team. Are you going to deliberately try to keep your team as small as possible, regardless of
success
growth of product?
I think we'll grow as needed. Like if we feel like we need more people to make what we're trying to make, then we'll get more people on the team. But I think for now, what we're doing on this project, it feels good where we're at, and we'll just kind of go from there.
I've worked on larger teams. I've seen how they go. I definitely don't want to get past a certain threshold. There's you start losing character and flavor, and
I think that's part of the magic of Arcaxer. That's why you get ideas like Fat Jack Black raccoons and stuff like that. You mentioned that there's no bureaucracy.
Get thrown out of a meeting in some studios,
kicked off your own board, whatever. But
no, I respect the smaller teams, and as we've learned over the years of talking to developers, some of the best games come from the smallest size teams that are working on them, and I think it's just for those very reasons where you can be yourself more. You don't have to send an email to 10 people and CC, 30 because you want to.
You guys are friends, not work colleagues.
Yeah.
It's different.
I'm sure there's probably some passion. There's got to be some passionate discussions that take place here and there. What I'm saying?
I don't have to ask to already know. I'm sure there's been some development, not arguments, but, stuff gets heated. People have different ideas and stuff like that. But that's the way.
Generally, I stick to my thing and Anthony sticks to his thing.
I try to
like the story. I don't fight.
If he has an idea that I didn't have like an idea for in the story, or like I didn't feel like it fit the world, I'll just do my best to be like, I'm gonna find a place for this to fit. He really wants to make this. He really wants to make this panda, and I'm gonna put it in the game somewhere.
Well, and the great thing, I can't really. I don't generally try to influence larger story arcs, but sometimes I say, here's this character and you're not getting anything else, so figure it out, buddy.
Until this guy's in the game, I'm not doing another character.
Yeah, I'm on strike. No, that magic is that's the magic right there. You guys are
I think at the end of the day, we're seeing what for up and coming developers or people looking to get involved. It's an inspirational story in itself, because it's not been like, oh, we made this game and then we just, hey, we've just done the store and life has been great. And
no, you gave up on it getting on the store.
We're living in the Bahamas now. And, no, it's like this has been a real whether it was a tech demo or whatever, from conception to where it is now. It's an inspirational story. But if you were to give advice to, and I'm sure you get the question a lot, but I know people want to hear it. Somebody, feeling either down and out about what they're working on, or people who want to get involved into the world of VR, what's your best advice you would give them at this moment in time?
I would say just keep grinding on it, keep polishing it, keep growing your community. Connections are really important. The VR community is still pretty small, and it's important to meet as many people as you can, because chances are somebody knows somebody who knows someone at Meta, and eventually, someone's going to help you get your game to where it needs to be.
My advice is make friends. Toby Fox exists, but we already have one, so we don't really need two. The odds of your solo dev game with retro pixel art getting made and successful aren't very high, but you make some friends, you make a project you all care about, you widen your skill set. So everything has to be done by someone, and if there's only 3 or 4 of you, you're going to learn a lot of things. So yeah, I spent about a year after school just working on my portfolio solo, and then Anthony said, "Hey, I've got this idea. Do you want to make some models for it?" And when we started developing Wave Magic, our first game that blew up on the launch pad, that's when I really started to see actual improvements in my skills. When I was trying to make things that looked good to show off for my friends, when I was getting that practice in every single day, because I wasn't just throwing things into the void. Anthony was plugging them in, and then they were catching on fire, and then they were killing you. Make friends, make products, stay motivated.
All great advice.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it all comes down.
I love asking the question too, because you're not going to get more of a real answer.
Mm-hmm.
People they're in the thick of it, man. They're in deep.
Well, and you can tell these two are passionate about their work, about their games. So
man, they could be doing anything else than going, you know what? Let's get involved in some of the newest technology that may or may not hold for the long term, which I'm confident it will now. But
when Quest Store launches, it's a heavily
let's get App Lab
store
for a while.
Yep.
Maybe not get on. It's like if you looked at it on paper, you'd never be like, that's what I want to do.
Mm-hmm. But you kept with it, you grinded with it, and now we have Arcaxer 2 coming, and that's what happens. I love it. I love those kind of stories. And for Arcaxer 2, is there any other new gameplay elements or major aspects or features like co-op? Is there anything else that you're looking to implement into the game that wasn't in Arcaxer 1?
One thing that I guess is kind of different is the overworld has more of a focus on kind of those big outdoor areas like the hub and the desert. We're trying to bring more of the gameplay to these big open environments, to where you're doing more exploring and questing, as opposed to just being in the dungeons. We're planning on having the procedural dungeons come back, but we also want more of that kind of handcrafted world in there. So I think that's going to be
2 and 3. Oh, go ahead.
Right. That's going to be a big change in this game, is just having more of a open world to explore.
The Quest 2 and 3 are insanely more powerful than the 1, so yeah, we've got a lot more options.
Right.
So I'll anticipate this is going to be a very large size world at the end of the day compared to Arcaxer. Well, there's going to be more of those big areas to go to.
More worlds than world. We're kind of doing a world by world structure where the story of the game takes place in the worlds of different dying MMORPGs. Not real MMO, just MMORPGs in universe. And throughout the game, you'll be traveling to these different game worlds, and they'll all have a different theme, from fantasy to sci-fi to big mystery that we won't reveal yet.
We won't? Okay.
No, not yet. Keep that one a secret.
Yeah, that's a good one.
My brain's already going, maybe that's how you unlock the new classes, is by beating each world. Maybe it comes with the class. Maybe that's not the case. I'm just speculating for my own.
Each world, the worlds definitely will have their own classes to unlock that are associated with those worlds.
Which I'm pretty excited about, because they're so totally different. Taking candy-based spells from the first world into the science fiction world is going to be stupid and amazing. I'm excited.
A big part of the story is part of the fact that your character is this special entity that can transfer its powers between these games. So, like, imagine playing one MMO and going to a different one with the abilities from the previous game. That's part of what's going to make your character special. Right.
Oh, this is going to be badass.
Love when gamers make games.
Yeah.
It's like the ability to do whatever the hell you want.
Well,
that's friggin', dude. Come on, man.
You can see you two smiling, laughing as you're talking about it.
Be great.
It sounds like you're having a lot of fun developing the game and putting your ideas into reality. It's really, really cool to hear. So for our listeners, before you wrap this up or anything, where can they find you guys on social media, your Discord? You mentioned that you have a pop in Discord server. Where can they find all this stuff?
Yeah, if you go to arcaxer.com, it's got all of our links there. We have a Twitter, Arcaxer VR. Me and Anthony both post Arcaxer content on our TikToks, which is a little harder to follow, but that's just the nature of TikTok. We've also got a subreddit, so if you're a user and you encounter a new bug, Anthony stays really up to date on that. He actually just recently pushed out a minor fix, I think something with the firmware change, and he had to fix something. And Reddit was how we found that, which was great.
That's awesome. I like both formats of Discord and Reddit. They scratch different niches.
Yeah, and between the two, if you need feedback on something, you'll get two different approaches.
All of it, yeah.
And I think it's sometimes two different users too. One likes more of that IRC, chat-based style, where some people, they like old school forum posting as well. So you get both boxes with that. But I'll definitely put the link for Arcaxer.com in the show notes, the episode description. As well, I'll throw the link for Arcaxer 1 in case anybody...
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, if you like...
Yeah, actually, that's a really good point. Since if anyone listened to the end here, we do have a sale going on right now for Arcaxer 1. If you're listening the week it comes out.
Sweet. What's the sale amount, just in case anybody...
44% off. We're going big with the launch of the Quest 3.
44% off is a significant sale.
Just under 50 freaking percent.
The game is worth it at,
taking it on the chin over here
at full price. And something that's huge about you guys doing that, it's something that I think is kind of missed sometimes. For consumer, having 25% off any game with the referral code is great, but sometimes it's tough when a game's on sale for 10%. It's like, well, why wouldn't I use the 25% referral code that I can just go look in the reviews instead? Anyway, so hitting
it's a different system for sure.
Yeah, hitting 44% sale. There's no reason to use a referral code. Just go in there and get the game. That's a phenomenal sale. So yeah, the game's worth it full price at 44%. If you don't own it, definitely the time to grab it for sure.
Especially if you just bought a 3. I'm gonna have to go look at it through the 3 lenses.
Yeah, just to see. I know I read that the 3 runs things by default at 30% more resolution if they weren't already there. Yeah, anyway, I could see a lot of potential for Arcaxer 1 getting
re-optimized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
why not?
And like you said, that doesn't
it's
mean
not our time, we're not working on a freaking second game with a studio too. I think it'd be great if they did. Why not?
Remastered. Well, like you said too, it's not like the first one was bad graphically. It was actually phenomenal.
Certain,
you could see
there's certain things I'm visually remembering and on the Quest 2. They were really nice to look at.
Yeah, I just know where your brain's going. You're going, well, some extra lighting here, some shadows here.
Yeah, just a dab here.
Yeah, but
a little backdrop there,
Like you just said too, it's also very easy
Nothing
for us to just say
100 hours,
Yeah.
So I do want to, I know you're trying to wrap it up as well, but
go ahead.
Any plan ever for like little character merch models that people can get in the world of 3D printing and graphic design?
I've actually got a little hobby project going. I'm hoping to have something for a holiday giveaway. I recently picked up a 3D printer. You can see it behind me. I don't know if we're ever going to get to the point where we're like setting up a merch store, but I certainly have a list of people I would want to give a thanks for supporting us little desk clutter guy for. So
yeah, we're such nerds. We're always big on like, oh, I wish this game had merch. I wish this game had merch.
I mean, I'm just gonna say I'm sure we're not the only ones who would be like, shit, I'd pay for.
Yeah, I love
little
games.
characters
Game
from the
swag
game.
is the best.
Yeah.
And Arcaxer is one of those ones that has potential of it. You know, if they're that big raccoon guy ends up being a community hit.
Dude, how could it not? It already is.
Yeah, it's like
Conception.
So I think there's definitely a lot of potential there. That was a damn good question. And before we let you go and wrap it up, is there anything else that you wanted to say to the listeners? You know, I know we already plugged where to find you guys on social media, but I didn't know if there was any other topics.
Plug it again, Arcaxer.com.
Right, Arcaxer.com.
44% off.
On the official MetaQuest store.
If you haven't played the first game, you have to check it out. If you're listening to this during the sale, that great time to buy the game. And yeah, we're just excited to be here and hope you guys like the game.
Yeah, it's like I said, worth it at full price. And if you happen to catch it during a sale, then even more so, definitely. So anything else you wanted to ask before we let him go?
Let's see. It's going to be better graphically. Fucking merge.
Co-op.
No, it's like literally every box was, and some I didn't even know needed to be checked.
Mm-hmm.
Then I heard it. And I'm like no,
I
think, you know, I mean, I'm patient. I'll wait it out. I know it's coming around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe sometime next year, whatever. But I anticipate it's going to be good. Like I said, you both have put your bar at a certain level, and I don't see it going below that. So anything above that or equal to is going to be fantastic. Using better technology to do it. Come on.
Yeah.
All that experience. So no, I'm actually want to know what's going to be after the second one. Like what's going to come? Are we going to go a different way? Or
no, I love the
third.
This is
this the lore you want to live with?
As soon as you said it, my brain was like 100%. This is the VR Final Fantasy. Let's do it.
Right?
This will be just endless Arcaxers. I could totally see the potential for it.
I could probably do this forever.
Yeah.
And wait till Aaron gets a Quest 3 too. You guys are both going to be, as developers, exploding with creativity and potential, and going to be having a little bit too much fun in all the good ways.
I can't wait to talk to them again.
Yeah, so definitely we'll have you back on when Arcaxer 2 is ready, you know, and ready to release. Or close. You
or
know,
news needs to come out.
Yep. Basically, you guys got the open invitation, so just let us know. You know, we'd love to have you back on. And for the listeners, if you like RPGs, you like, you know, bullet hell, combat, strategy, you know, whatever, go check out Arcaxer 1. You know, one of my favorite games to have started on App Lab and have graduated to the official store. So highly recommended. Anthony and Aaron, thank you for your time. I'm sure Anthony is itching to get back on the Quest 3 as well, just like us too. So enjoy the rest of your day. And for the listeners, you know, subscribe, rate us 5 stars, and check you out next week.
Take care.